Okay. Now,
Welcome.
Welcome to another episode
of Driving to the Res.
with your favorite host, Larry.
Inelia.
I think we need to upgrade that.
Yeah.
We're just
that's
used to it, so we say it.
funny. So we say it.
So,
It's kind of cool. It's good.
yeah, but I still think we could upgrade it.
Maybe.
You keep on messing things up on me.
I do. Oh no, I'm messing your stuff up. Oh my
Just get a
goodness.
little closer to me then.
Okay.
All right, that's better.
All right, that's better.
Okay.
Okay, sitting on me now. On my lap, man.
On my lap.
A little bit big for my lap.
Remember yesterday?
No?
Neptune was sitting on my lap.
Oh, yes. Our puppy dog, Neptune. Giant dog.
Yes.
Poor thing. Got bit by wasps.
Yeah, and me too.
Yes, you too. How's your hand?
It seems fine. I look a lot younger on this hand.
Yeah.
I got Botoxed.
Yes. Wasp Botox.
Wasp-toxed.
Wasp toxed.
I don't think it was great.
No.
I don't recommend it.
No, don't do that. So we're going to be talking about something that is interesting in many fronts.
It is, yes.
Because it's not just about...
It's not just about what we're talking about on the top.
Right.
Like the surface.
The surface is Sasquatch.
Yes, but there's more to it.
Yes. Something very interesting that's relevant to our lives.
And it's on topic of enlightenment,
Yes.
right? Because basically I think of that term to mean becoming aware,
Yes.
right? I mean, among other things.
Yeah.
So let's give it a start.
All right. Sasquatch season is back. Oh, did they
Sasquatch
ever
season.
leave?
Sasquatch season?
Yeah. The season when they come back to the Olympic Peninsula.
Okay.
However, that's the whole point. Do they ever leave, or is it us who move our awareness somehow, or shift our awareness somehow so we don't perceive them or hear them anymore? Which one is it, honey?
Well, I spend the whole summer, fall, winter, spring, all the time. I run around with my one wheels and my dogs.
Mm-hmm.
And I keep my eyes a little peeled, but then again, it seems like I don't see them or any sign of them in the summer. Even when I'm looking, I'm like actively looking. But in the spring and the fall, I seem to find things that is like, oh yes, there's sign. I mean, yesterday I went into the backyard and I went back off into the woods a little bit to check where the puppies went with Lucy. And even though we've been back there, we were back there last fall, spring. I don't remember
You
when.
don't visit your yard very much.
We didn't gone back there for a little while, but I think we did in the summer, honestly. We walked back there and looked around, and it was kind of quiet. We took a walk, remember? We went down to the hill and overlooked it. I walked back there a few times. And it was kind of like abandoned. So yesterday I walked back there the day before, and it was a bit dark. And the trail that I normally take, it's got obstructions over it. And there, Sasquatch breaks and moved and placed, and it doesn't look familiar again. It looks like somebody's been there. And that somebody was there recently, right? And the dogs were all sniffing and barking and running back over that way and making a noise. So I went to go investigate, and in the first and the second and the third and the fifth thing that I encountered all said, oh, the Sasquatch are around again. It didn't feel like it. It did feel like it.
Yeah. And that's the whole point again, right? That's the key word here.
Yeah.
Okay, let me read a little bit.
Okay.
A lot of things happen at the Olympic Peninsula during autumn.
Yeah.
One of them is the return of the Osset Valley of the Sasquatch tribes in the area.
Right.
For a lot of people in the West, the Sasquatch is a fantasy creature that does not exist. But here, in the Olympic Peninsula, and in particular the Mecca Reservation and surrounding areas. Sasquatch are just another tribe that has a long history of trading with the Mecca and the other tribes, and sightings are common. That's one of the things, isn't it? Like, it's like a lot of people is like, I'm gonna prove that Sasquatch live or exist, or, oh, my life changed after I saw Sasquatch because I saw out of everything else. And here is like the same as bears. I mean, do bears exist? There's some people who live around here who have never seen a bear. But this place is full of bears.
Yeah, it is full of bears.
Yeah.
And it still takes some time being in the woods to encounter one.
Oh, it does, yeah.
In the entire time we've been at the top of this hill, and I've taken the dogs for runs, must have done, I don't know, 100 runs into the woods at all times of the evening, early in the morning, middle of the day, afternoon, evening, when there's people around, when there's no people around.
Yep.
And I'm running around on my one wheel, and we're going pretty fast. And we're going quiet, and we're loud. We're all the things. And we're going down the end of every single road and full of berries and bushes. And so there's bears. You can see tracks. You can see poops. You can see tracks and poops. You can sense they're there all over. The markings on the trees. But don't see them.
Right.
And then one day, out of nowhere, there's one sitting in the ditch, not even aware that we snuck up on him somehow.
Yeah,
and he looked
that's
at me,
also bizarre.
And he looked at us and he's like, "What are you doing here?" And I'm going, "What do you mean, what am I doing here? What are you doing there in the ditch? Can't you see we're coming?" We were both like,
oh my gosh.
"Oh, oops.
Yeah.
Let me get out of here."
Yeah.
And he took off into the bushes, and the dogs, we just ran right by the bear, and the dogs looked back like, what the heck is that in the ditch? I think, that's a bear, guys. Just
bark or
no,
something?
don't chase it, but you should have barked by now.
Yes.
That was almost the most absurd thing ever.
Yeah.
And oddly enough, since that day where I met that bear in the ditch, I flew to Alaska and walked up on a mama bear and her cubs. And the very next day, drove up on a giant grizzly on the side of the road, saved him from getting run over by a truck. Yeah. And the very next week, we're driving and we seen a bear.
Yep.
Right in front of us on the road. Blump, blump, blump. Really healthy one.
Yes.
All of a sudden, bears everywhere. So prior to then, I hadn't seen a grizzly bear in Alaska. And I lived there for 10 years.
Yeah, you grew
or 20
up there,
years
right?
or whatever, a long time. I hadn't seen, I seen a black bear one time,
Wow.
riding my bike 40 miles away from town. That was the only time I saw a black bear, right?
Wow.
But you know darn well Alaska's like chock-a-block full of them.
Yeah.
So I don't understand how it is that I go so long without seeing them, and then every turn around there's another one and a different breed, a different space and geography and everything.
So that's part of what this article is about, because it feels to me that there's something more going on when we don't see something and then when we see something.
Yeah, I think so.
Okay. Sasquatch art and the iconic walking Sasquatch image is everywhere in this area. They're definitely top center of the collective consciousness of everyone who lives here, not just the Native American tribes. Every year we feel the Sasquatch presence leave the peninsula or become much less, and then return in September, October, November, and they stay present until around May, at which point they seem to become quiet.
That's how
It's the same with the elk, and we have thought that perhaps the two are related, that the Sasquatch and the elk moved around together. This year's things were a little different. Both the elk and the Sasquatch stayed present in the valley for the entire summer. It was odd. Usually the babies are born, as the elk babies are born somewhere else, and by the time the herds are back, they're quite big. But not this year. This year, we saw those pretty little babies all over the Osset Valley. Remember newborns?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Little ones bumping around. Tiny little ones, like barely a week-old ones.
Or even less, Yeah. So that was really strange when we noticed that the elk didn't leave. Yeah. And I remember thinking that I will, because we communicate with them experientially, I would often tap into the local tribe ones or the ones that we're familiar with, the Sasquatch.
Right.
And the previous years, they were all gone. It's like they're not there or they're not reachable. And then this year, like you just have to think about them a little bit and boom, you can feel their presence and have a telepathic or experiential telepathy conversation with them, which is very strange because throughout the summer, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. The great majority of the contact Larry and I have with them is via experiential telepathy and physical signs left in the woods, which was what you mentioned earlier, right?
Yeah, that's what I have. I get physical signs.
Yeah. We have seen and heard them physically too, but it's not common for us to do so. So here's the question I wanted us to look at together. Do the Sasquatch leave the valley, or does our collective field of attention, humans, go elsewhere during the spring and summer season, so we don't feel them as much, if at all? And one of the things that are interesting about that is that when we got lost that time, remember? It was in the summer? Not this summer, I think it was last summer.
It was this summer.
Was it this summer?
Yeah, when we got turned around.
Yeah. I thought that was last summer.
Nope.
Or maybe spring. Could have been spring.
Well.
Anyways, it was
summertime.
Yeah, it was during a season that...
It was this summertime when usually they would be absent.
Yes. But...
we went for a bike ride to try to go from our hill house to our res house.
Yes.
Using the back roads, which by my estimation, I looked on Google Maps, it's like this far.
Very short. Right?
It's not too far.
Right.
It's like a little ways, but not a super long ways. Mm-hmm. And we need to go right, left, left, right.
You're pretty good at
something like that.
Yeah.
And I had the map. And I took pictures of the road the whole way there, so that each turn I would know which way I'm supposed to go to continue, because I haven't done that path through yet. Yeah. And about what, half hour, 45 minutes or ish, maybe an hour into it.
It was good 2 hours.
I got a flat tire.
Yes.
And so I started pushing my bike.
Yeah.
And I was like, my gosh, I got a long slog ahead, because we were only about, in an hour, I figured we were about a quarter of the way, but it probably was more like 10%.
Less.
When I went and looked at the map later, like,
Yes. Yeah.
And so you have made some experiential telepathy connection?
No. It was different.
It was different?
Yeah. So
yeah, we took a couple of turns, right? And we're going down the road, and I'm pushing my bike, and there's a lot of berries and things around. Yeah.
There's a couple of things that happened. One of them was that at some point I felt the Sasquatch that live around here, the tribe that lives near where we live.
Yeah.
And I thought to myself, oh, that's very strange. Your territory is quite far, right? Goes all the way to Nia Bay, because we were going to Nia Bay, right?
Yeah.
And they laughed. I says, no, it's another tribe. And he says, oh, that's really strange then, because, how come you're around here? So one of the first surprises I got was that when we moved into the forest, I could feel them. And normally at that time of year, you can't feel them at all.
Yeah, I don't see signs. I don't have... No. It's like they vanished.
Yeah. And so that was a little bit funny. And then we did go into a different area.
Yep.
And they welcomed us to that other area, the other tribe. And those were the ones from Nia Bay.
Mm-hmm.
And they were very interested in Brett, because Brett was with us, my son. And they were like, who's this? Because I recognized you, recognized me, but I didn't recognize Brett. And then I showed him an image of him when he was a lot younger, and we used to live at the res, and he used to play in the bike all over the
Backtrack.
all over the rest. He used
With his friends
with
up
his
the
friends
hill.
up the hill, down the hill, around the town, everything.
When we were
And
living
they
on the boat.
recognized him.
Yeah.
And then they started sending me images of him in very areas that I didn't know he'd gone to. This is, yeah, that's him. So they were very happy that he was back. And then, for some weird reason, we went back to the other area near our house. And we couldn't figure it out. And then when your tire got flat, we started looking at the map to see, okay, should we just go turn around? Because it was more like 2 hours by then. Because flat tire, and I think, like you said, I think we're only like a quarter way there. So that's another few hours, or halfway there, you said. I think we're only halfway there, so that's another couple of hours, you know? And I'm like, yeah, I don't know. Let's have a look at the maps again. And we started looking at the map. And then suddenly we realized, I said, you know, we should turn around because I think 2 hours is for safety, like, you know. But 4 hours, not so much. We don't know. And
Well,
it's like,
when I looked at the map, the pictures that I had of the map, the turns stopped matching.
yes,
Because I had a picture of it and I looked, I was like, there should be a left right there. There's no left.
right, yeah.
And there's a right instead. So what's
Yeah.
going on here? We're lost.
And then the map suddenly made sense.
Well, it made sense because I went on Google Earth and I
Yes.
was like,
Oh,
or
here
Google
we
Maps,
are.
and I got a little bit of signal. I was like, what the heck? Where are we at?
Yeah, we had done a U, which is impossible,
We
really.
did a U-turn and we're getting ejected right back down to the road.
Right.
So when you
And it's
connected with the tribe, that was
were
that tribe, and they were
laughing.
laughing at us because we were like, we thought we were heading close to Nia Bay, and they were
We
like,
did.
yeah,
No,
right.
no.
No, you're
No,
not.
you're not. And they said, no, we didn't let you go down that way because it's dangerous down that way. There's hunters.
Oh, there was hunters going on.
And I'm like, wait, what? And they said, you wouldn't get there today. You'll probably be walking until first thing in the, like, all night. The rest of the day and all night before you get there.
Because we were going way too slow.
Yes. And we were like, what? So they suggested we go to this other route. We did. And then we came out on the road. Just
On our own road.
our own road between the shaman shack and us. And we were like, what just happened? What just happened?
That's how it felt too, because getting dumped out onto the main road, and where we were going away from the main road the entire time, and all of a sudden we are on the main
On
road.
the main road.
It's like, oh my
It's
goodness.
like, what? So it felt like we'd been mind melded, you know?
Mind melded into turning around in some
Yes.
ways.
With our
Very specific
very specific.
directions. I saw where to go.
Yes.
And it was at a,
We had maps, we had everything, we had pictures, we had the GPS thing, we had everything.
yeah, for each turn I was checking.
And but no. When we checked everything again, we had done a U and we were being guided like, no, go down that way. So we went that way and it was a perfect, we were already turned around and coming back to the main road. We had already done that.
Yeah, it's a good thing we didn't turn back around because I've been twice as far to get back.
Yes. So we got back to the road, but that was what was interesting to me was that they were still there.
Mm-hmm.
And that's when I started getting interested. It's like, so do you actually leave or what's going on? And I don't think they do. I'm not sure about the other years, but it just doesn't feel like they actually leave. So something happens. So it's almost like we move away, but we're here physically, but it's almost like our realities diverge. But I'm not sure why in the spring, whatever, they converge again, right? So, yeah, it was really odd. Both the baby elks in the valley, never seen that before.
All the elk, we had, about 4 or 5 herds of elk
Massive
that were
herd.
obvious and sitting just in plain view all
Yes,
summer.
all summer. Yeah.
And that's not usually what happens.
No.
And
I don't
definitely
see
not the
them in the
babies.
summer. Definitely not the babies, no.
And definitely not a bull elk running right down our driveway
No.
when we come home.
Yeah.
Giant bull elk
And on the
running down
main
our
road.
driveway on our
Yes.
main road.
Yeah.
The day after, remember that was the
Yes.
day after a bear did the same thing.
Right.
Right down our main road.
Yeah. So all these things is like, are we here or are we not here? Are they here or are they not here? It's very strange. Very strange indeed.
Yeah, I'm more
Right.
confused, not less confused by this conversation so far.
Yes.
Because I can't explain it.
No.
It feels they're gone, but at the same time, they're not.
Right.
And my evidence of I look out with my eyes is I don't see any of them. But when we connected, you connected, they were clearly there and they were seeing us and knew what we were doing and were laughing at us.
Yes.
And, you know, I don't know.
Okay. One might think, well, the elk are clearly not physically present during the warmer months, usually, but they are this year. Also, I've noticed something odd this year. It is as though the capacity that we have to orchestrate seeing or not seeing of people and animals has changed.
What do you mean by that?
For example, we drive down the road and see 3 massive herds of elk by the side of the road,
Right?
and some on the road,
Yes, I remember.
and we had to stop. And a person driving 2 minutes behind us, and they see no elk at all.
Not even any sign of elk. Remember, they just
No
disappear
sign.
in the woods.
Yeah, no sign. They don't see the elk. They don't see any signs of elk. And another thing, or we go to the DMV office in town, an office renowned for 2-hour-long queues and crabby workers. And when we get there twice in the middle of the work week, it is completely empty and the workers are happy and friendly. Different realities. For me, the DMV office is a place that never has a queue, and the people who work there are super nice and friendly.
They are. I know. It's shocking.
So, have the Sasquatch and elk always stayed in the valley and it was us who moved somewhere else in experience and attention? Or did they really leave?
Well, I think it's clear they didn't leave, but our attention did. Or maybe my attention did. And our... I don't know.
Very strange. It's very, very strange. Remember, one of the other things that it brought to my mind was the experience that you and the other teams that went to the event in Portland.
Yeah, Portland was abandoned.
Yeah, and there was like a huge event happening, a couple of things happening in the city, but there was nobody on the road, nobody in the city, you know?
No one in the restaurants. No one on the train.
The other thing that it reminded me of, it was in Sacramento. It's the capital city of California. And one of the odd things about it is that when you go downtown, and you go anywhere downtown actually, or the what's it called, the government place? There's nobody on the road. I mean, there's nobody in the streets. And I have been with a person before, go downtown with a person, and it's full. You can't drive, you can't park anywhere. It's just chock-a-block full. But my general or normal, what would happen to me if I went by myself, was that there was nobody there. And you could get parking anywhere because there was literally, I felt it was like an abandoned city or something. And then you and I went downtown and you got the same experience of, where's everybody? There's nobody here. And this was years ago.
It was like ghost town.
Yeah, like
Totally
10
like
years
ghost
ago.
town.
Yeah.
It was like Portland last week.
Yeah.
We walked to the restaurant to get lunch, and we walked to that same restaurant for a dinner. There wasn't anybody. There was abandoned streets the whole way there, 6 blocks or so. Nobody on the train, nobody in the train stop, nobody on the street, nobody in the restaurant. It's like, how does the
do they
restaurant survive?
survive?
There's no customers.
Yeah.
The opposite of what I expect in a city.
Yeah.
Just like an abandoned feeling, right? And it's the same feeling that I have in the forest in the summer when the Sasquatch leave.
Leave,
It's
allegedly.
like there's no signs, no trees bent, no bushes, nothing. That's just abandoned. But yesterday was obvious and apparent. They're there. They're here. Here's signs, and I see it. So are we moving into their reality? Are we like less? Or okay, the thing that it reminds me of the most is when we were driving home a few weeks ago, and it hadn't rained for a long, long time, and you felt like the forest and everything was abandoned around us. Remember? Can you share that story? Because it seems
we've shared that
most
story
accurate.
before, but it's very, very
Similar.
relevant. Yeah. So it felt like the forest was abandoned.
No animals, no rabbits, no birds, no bugs, nothing.
And I was like, I was tapping into Gaia this time, and I was communicating what's going on, why is the forest so empty? And the imagery, because it's experiential telepathy, the imagery I got back was a massive wave crashing into rocks, right? Like massive, and it's like up and everywhere, very loud and everything, right? And then the question was, does a deaf man hear the waves as they crash into the rock? And I saw the same image without the sound. And it's like, no. But does that mean there's no sound? No, there's sound. I could hear the waves, the massive waves crashing into rocks. And they're very, very, very loud. Sometimes you can hear them for miles. They're so loud. I said, that's right. And I was like, okay.
So is that the answer to my question?
So I'm blind?
I'm blind?
Can't
No, you're
see
deaf.
anything or deaf? What was going on here? And then suddenly, the massive elk
Massive herd of elk.
appears and starts right in front of us, running into the forest. And as we look into the forest, they're gone.
Vanished.
They're like vanished. And like, oh, so for some reason, it's like our perception, sight, hearing, and everything has diminished. That's how it felt. That was the message. And then I was thinking about it and like everything. And then we see another elk, massive elk going up our driveway. It's like, oh my gosh, really? So it's a little bit like that, It's almost like reality. It's almost like the Sasquatch and this year the elk. We stayed within their reality. It's almost like we didn't go blind and deaf. But my question is like, why do we do that? Why is it that we go blind and deaf?
Yeah, why? In the summer, do we go blind and deaf? And in the fall and the spring, not so much.
Exactly, yeah. So even in Sacramento, it's like even with people, because I remember going into one of the malls with a friend, and the mall was full of people, and then I walked home from it because I lived nearby, and the place was full, and it felt safe, And then another time, my friend wasn't there, but I wanted to go to the mall, so I decided to go by myself. And the roads were like empty, completely empty. I'm like, am I in the right road? Because I remember this being the road where I can go to the mall, but how can it be so empty? And I got to the mall, to the entrance, and again, it was completely empty. And I'm like, is it closed? But it's Tuesday afternoon. It shouldn't be closed. And I go in, the door there is open. The stores are open, and I mean, there's a few people, but it wasn't anything like when I'd gone with my friend.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like a collective change of awareness, and it's exactly the same as what we experienced here. It's like a collective awareness field that can be shared between two or more people. And what is it? Is it like vibrationally, frequency? Interest, what is it that dictates it? So anyways, I thought it was very, very interesting observation of what's been going on. And like even through time space, those telepathic conversations we've had, the experiential telepathy we've had with it, Sasquatch has changed, has morphed and changed. And I remember one year, I think it was last year or the year before, one of the things that I noticed had changed a lot was that I would feel into where are you energy, right? I went out into, it was fall, and I went out near the shaman shack and I was like, where are you guys? I can't feel you anymore. And then it was like somebody turning around and looking at you going, what do you mean? And then what I noticed was that the difference was that they didn't consider me a stranger anymore. So it was part of the nature, I guess, part of the area. So I wasn't out of their field looking in to them. I was their field of awareness. Do you know what I'm saying?
No.
And then I had to explain, oh yeah, we don't really function like that, as people. I need that otherness in order to be able to see you, perceive you. I wonder what it has to do with that. Am I just making it more complicated?
Well, I'm ready to accept in a lot of ways that there must be some collective awareness agreements, right?
Yes.
I know with fish, and I know with wild animals that didn't all of a sudden there get to be more elk, and all of a sudden the next year there's like more bears around. But the encounter was much changed. I mean, if you were counting how many bears are on the planet based on how many times you've seen one, for 40 years there were no bears. And now all of a sudden the bears are everywhere.
Yes.
So like the bears like massively multiplied. There's 1 million of them.
But they have
But
it.
that isn't what happened.
Right.
So we can't take what we've seen for the measurement of how much is there. So being aware that there's things going on that you don't see, maybe that's part of it. And what you see, I guess the band of awareness that see, hear, feel, touch, right? That band of awareness, that is not very reliable.
Right.
Not a very reliable measure of reality. I think
Correct,
that's
yes.
probably the best I can do with what we're doing so far. Is there aren't any, because I haven't ever seen one, is not a good measure of it.
It's not a good measure.
There's
of
1
it.
million of them because I see them all over the place. Is also a not good measure of
measure
it, right?
yeah.
So there's another stick we got to use
Yeah.
to, I guess, make the connection to what is actually there, and that's probably what functionally enlightened would be. Aware of this thing that we just said. Now I know there's people in Portland,
Yes, and in Sacramento
plenty
too.
of them, and Sacramento too. I know it.
Yeah.
I know without a doubt. So our experience of those things is really what's up to be examined. And a question like, why is our experience of something change in the summer and the fall and the spring, and then the summer and the fall
right.
and the spring? That's an interesting question we should dive into. That's the kind of a question that has some, like I can't answer it. I can't even begin to answer it. But I think that together we might.
Yeah.
And our individual experiences, and then our sight seeing and our smell tasting, our sense experiences, and the palette of what's available to experience, bringing those so that I guess it's in line with our prime purpose, right? To embody our true frequency, have that reflected back to us in the form of experiences that we see. I think that's what we're scratching on.
I think so too.
I think that's what we're scratching on.
I think so too, yeah.
So,
Well, I'm happy we started this conversation.
Yes. I'm still, still a little bit like we're touching it, and it's really interesting.
Yeah.
I know there's a lot there, and I don't feel like we quite got to it all. I think what we should probably do is bring in some friends.
I think so, yeah. Let's bring some friends, and then we'll have our second part of this podcast,
They can bumble
accessed.
Which
is accessed through Subscribestar.
Oh yeah, that's right. You got to go to Subscribestar for the second hour.
Yes.
We call it the second hour, but it's
part.
more than an hour off.
Usually, yeah.
Almost always. Mm-hmm. And it's where we bring in, we'll call it expanded
viewpoints.
Mm-hmm. And we'll touch on what we've been talking about from the viewpoints of
our friends.
In the form of some questions and conversation and some enlightened insights.
Yes.
Either way, if you're as confused as I am in this half hour, let's go for a couple hours of confusion. See if we get to the end of it not confused, okay?
That'll be great.
That would be freaking awesome. And I think the best way is for insightful inquiry.
Yes.
So I'm hoping our friends have some good insights they can bring to this conversation, their own experiences, their own journey story of having these kind of same experiences, maybe. And we could get to the bottom of what happens in the summer.
That's right.
Right.
Yeah, let's do
Enlighten me.
Enlightened me.
Hey, wait a minute.
What?
It's sunny.
Yes.
It's lighter.
Yes.
Enlighten me. I don't know.
I don't know.
We'll see you in the second hour.
Okay.
Love you,
See
honey.
you then.